to the invitation.
So, London calling here. We've got Jasper Donnet. Good morning, Europe. Good afternoon, Asia. Good early morning to the United States. We've got a typical London day here. It's been an amazing spring despite the lockdown. Sunny skies almost every day, very Mediterranean today. We're back to a little bit more London-like weather, so appropriate to bring in the clash for that. And very happy to have Jasper Donnet this morning, who is the founder of Branded, which is an event company which has brought out many of Asia's best-known large-scale and small-scale events, many of them related to music. Music Matters being the premier one, where basically all of Singapore is taken over by Music Matters. Every street corner has music. There's events, there's discussions, and with Jasper, of course, we launched together Social Media Matters quite a few years ago, which was turned into Asia's largest event focused on social media for business, and the show is carried on in spite of COVID. So what I'm interested to hear is, what does COVID mean for events? What does COVID mean for the future of events in Asia? You're really ahead of where we are in Europe in dealing with that. So welcome, Jasper.
Thank you, Tom. It's great to see you. It's also good to see that an American living in London, you've already learned how to be English and talk immediately about the weather. So well done. I'm very glad to see that you've
Assimilation has taken place.
Yeah, well done.
So, what is the future of events, basically?
Very good question.
Events are really challenged. We can't get within, 2 meters of another person. How are we going to have those? Is the mosh pit done forever?
Look, I think the world is changing by the day. If I had told you, if you had told me in February that we would be talking about Branded being 100% digital and not doing any physically live events in 2020, I would probably either punch you, shoot you, or defriend you at least. But the world has changed, and although Asia seems to be starting to go back to work, you look at Hong Kong and China and Thailand going back, there's still a lot of regulations about numbers of people in events, and even when, numbers of people gathering, and even when people are going to be allowed back again, there's going to be a certain degree of people being nervous about being together, or travel restrictions. Is it going to be as comfortable traveling again? So I think the idea of people buying thousands and thousands of tickets for big events to stand next to each other and get sweaty, maybe not this year. Some people are saying even maybe not next year. So in February, I would have called you crazy and defriended you. In March, we came up with a planning strategy that said plan A was that everything goes back to normal in May or June, because we've been through SARS. This is history repeating itself. We know what we're doing. That was plan A. And we actually had, and my team will back me on this, we had a plan X. And plan X was Branded going 100% digital, which we were kind of like this hell freezing over scenario. And as someone on my team this morning said, I'll go get my coat, because we've gone 100% digital. We were already 50% digital, and we just, we were halfway up a hill, and now we've just got to go 100%.
Coming to SARS, Asia did have the advantage of the learnings out of the SARS experience. I was there in Hong Kong for SARS, yep. Reported on SARS, covered SARS. It changed the way that Hong Kong lived. Hong Kongers very quickly adapted their behavior, unlike actually what I've observed here in the UK, where it's a much slower adaptation. Hong Kong is it's a smaller population, granted, but much quicker to adapt, and it really was a permanent shift. Could you do a little bit of a compare contrast between what we saw in SARS and how SARS ended famously with the Harbor Fest, which was a music festival on the waterfront, sort of everybody get back to life, life back to normal. Compare contrast where we are in SARS, and to be fair, where we were in SARS in June of 2003, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, SARS was scary because no one knew what it was. There wasn't social media. There wasn't, we had. I think Nuri Vitachi was social media at the time, and Hong Kong closed down. I remember I was actually in London at the time, and I ended up coming back and going to Singapore and staying in Singapore for a few weeks and keeping on working there because people got pretty scared and it got pretty scary and everything kind of shut down. But it went away pretty fast. And as you said, kind of by the summer, there certainly wasn't any social distancing or anything like that. People were wearing face masks, but then all of a sudden it went away and people went out and it was a very, very different scenario. But we all thought back in February, March, and I'll put my hand up to having got it totally wrong. I had an argument with someone who turned out to be an epidemiologist. Never, ever argue about epidemics or pandemics with someone who then claims to be an epidemiologist. But at the time, we were like, this is history repeating itself. We know that people are going to be back at events in the summer. Governments are going to be funding it. Let's prepare. It was all prepare for the bounce. And that's what happened in Hong Kong back in, and other Asian countries back in 2003. But boy, did it bounce back quickly. I think it was all done by August. Harbourfest was later in the year, but the bounce back happened in the late summer.
But what is your sense about heading for that bounce back? Did we? How were we feeling in early June 2003? To your memory, were you thinking of things are going to get back to normal again, or was it still the dark days?
June was still. Forgive me if I get it wrong by a couple of months, but June was still in pretty bad. I mean, it kicked off really at the end of March at the Sevens, if you remember. That was the first weekend it really hit. So April, May, yeah, it was about now that maybe it was calming down, but it started calming down in the summer, and then the bounce back kicked in kind of Q4. I don't think that's going to happen now. I'd love it to. Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be fantastic? All of a sudden, everyone took their face masks off and started wanting to go to stadiums and conference rooms and all that kind of stuff. But I think with all the will in the world, with all the talk of travel bubbles and green lanes and all that kind of stuff, it's gonna take a while before everyone is comfortably sitting next to each other in concert venues and conference halls. But that doesn't mean that it's the end of the world.
Right. Mark Cumming is saying it's a creep back, not a bounce back.
It could well be, but I think every country is going to be different. The other thing about SARS is it only affected a relatively small number of countries, whereas this is everyone in the world, and that's very, very different. So, governments are treating it differently in every country. So we'll see. I mean, I think the other thing that we've learned is that you just can't plan. You just everything you think is going to happen doesn't. So maybe we just drink beer and not plan. It's Friday.
Which is how you finish every Friday. And one of the reasons for this interview we got.
I'm ready.
You're ready to crack it open. Great. So what is the future for events then in light of this? And what is plan to talk to us about Plan X, which somebody posted up here. Very excited about. What was Plan X when you thought of it, and how is Plan X turning out? And what is that? What is a lesson for that for others who are looking to either try to do events or event organizers?
Sure. Again, and in this very short space of time, I've gone from being probably the most petrified I've ever been business-wise, in having worked in nearly 35 years, to almost kind of the most exciting. This is the most exciting time to be in events. And again, if you told me I was going to be saying that a month ago, I would have laughed at you. But I just wish I was 25 again, because there's so many opportunities now in the virtual space that weren't there in the physical space. So, for example, if I was producing so when we were producing Social Matters with you back in Hong Kong in 2010, 11. I mean, we'd have to call it Social Distancing Matters now, but that's a whole different joke. But when we did Social Matters, we had brilliant speakers, but they were usually mostly from Asia. And if you'd said to someone in New York or London, please come to Hong Kong, they got to think about a 15-hour flight, a hotel room, taking a week off work, and all that kind of stuff. It just didn't work. Now you're asking people to take half an hour out of their day to participate in an event, maybe a little bit longer, but it's a lot. Those boundaries, the geographical boundaries, have come down, and so it's really kind of working very much in our favor, and putting people together that wouldn't normally have had a chance to meet. Because they're not in a lobby bar or a ballroom and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's so exciting. There are still lots of challenges. There are, people did go to events, certainly business events. People went to events to meet people and to shake their hand and have a drink with them in the lobby bar or whatever, and make new contacts and stuff. I think 99.9% of our clients turn up to meet other people. And that's very, very hard to replicate in the digital space. And I think certainly for our generation, it will never be replicated in the digital space. I don't think that Zoom rooms or Google Hangouts or there are a lot of tech. There's a lot of tech out there, and it's very good. You can still meet people, but it's not the same. And again, I was thinking about that, and not in my lifetime, and all these kind of Plan X statements. But then you look at Twitch. And you look at the average teenager who's on Twitch. They don't meet each other, but they're hanging out with millions of other people playing the same games and doing the same thing. So there are a lot of really, really exciting opportunities out there. And as I said, I wish I had the energy of a 25-year-old to be able to seize them all.
So with really what you're saying is there are two ends to the conferencing business. One is the content end, which seems to have benefited a great deal. Now we can get an amazing speaker, 30 minutes of their time. But on the connection end of things, the contacts and connection, both I'd say they're slightly different, but there are two elements to it, because I want to meet the speaker, but I'm not necessarily turning that into a contact. I get to ask questions. That's more the challenging end.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to meet people in a Hangout or a Zoom room or a LinkedIn or whatever, but it's just not the same.
So what are the ways that you're looking to address that, or what are the ways that we can do that, particularly for the serendipity of seeing someone across the room or bumping into them, and all of those awkward moments in lobbies where you realize you're talking to somebody whom you don't want to talk to, and you're kind of looking over their shoulder.
Well, that's where digital helps, because then you can go internet. Yeah, I mean, I think there's still, there's lots of systems, there's lots of webinars at the moment where they're promising that they can match you with people. It's all kind of AI stuff, and I think there really still has to be that personal concierge service in there as well. My internet just actually has completely slowed down. So the concierge thing, I think, is important. The personalization of it is still important, but then that you can spread the network and you can spread the community that much more as well, through digital meetings and stuff. So it's a quid pro quo, and like I said, not everyone is a 51-year-old who has to meet someone in a bar just to make a contact. They are meeting people online and having good experiences. I think the challenge we have at the moment, Tom, is that there are simply too many webinars at the moment, and we're getting invitations all the time. Hey, I've got a webinar about nothing, and we actually presented to a client the other day, and I'm not going to swear, but the presentation was called "Not Another Effing Webinar," because everyone's trying to do it, and it's, does anyone really need an excuse to look at their laptop screen for another hour? or another 5 hours. No, you have to be relevant. The context has to be there. The editorial has to be there. The speakers have to be there. I mean, you're clearly scraping the barrel interviewing me this week, but you know, it's really, you know, the quality of the content is even more important now, because I think I said it the other day. We did an online event the other day. Here I go contradicting myself, but we said at the beginning of it, please, you know, we used to ask people to turn their phones off before a conference. Now we're saying, please turn your notifications off. And because right now I've got WhatsApp going and Facebook going, and I'm concentrating on you, Tom, of course. But you know, if I'm tuning into someone's webinar, you know, and I get bored, then I'm just going to go off and do something completely different instead. So I think you know, we got a brilliant opportunity, but the content's got to be absolutely right. The people have got to be right. The context, the timing. You know, also there's a lot of people at the moment who are very nervous about talking, who might not be able to talk. Certainly in the industries we work in, the sports industry, the music industry, a lot of those companies have been absolutely battered, and they don't want to come online and just talk about cancellations. They're waiting for the time that they can talk about more positive things, and you know, the evolution to digital and stuff. But it's still quite hard to get the right people to be able to speak.
So you've found yourself now in competition with many more people than you had been in the past. In the past, there was only one person that could have the ballroom at the Grand Hyatt in Hong Kong for the weekend. You know, there's a limited number of venues. There's a limited way to do it. Now, there's unlimited content. Anybody can put up an event. What is the special thing that a branded will bring that others won't?
I think we're all learning that at the moment, you know, and you know, it's as I say, you need to have a blend of the right content in the right context, with the right subject matter, the right people speaking, the right people talking, and then this opportunity of interactivity. You need to have people. Yeah, there was an event this week. I won't say what, but they had all these speakers on, but you couldn't really communicate with them. So, well, if I've got this amazing digital space, why can't I talk to the speakers? And then obviously then, you know, being able to meet people before, during, and after is absolutely important. Otherwise, I mean, thinking about it, a webinar, I hate that word, but a webinar is competing with Netflix. And I'd much rather be watching Ozark again, or that 70s show with my daughter, than someone talking online, you know. But
then what you're highlighting is the connection element to it. So it's my ability to be able to connect to someone whom I wouldn't otherwise be able to connect with. And so does that mean more interactivity is going to be necessary than sort of broadcast style presentations at events?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we did a show last night. I mean, I can't see any questions coming in here because the system you're using bounces onto LinkedIn. But I'd hope that if people are asking us questions, that we can answer them.
Well, we have one. We have one from David.
From Mr. Mayo. Oh, okay, I've heard of him.
Which is, does online allow you to run more events? He sent it to me on Facebook Messenger for some reason. Does online allow you to run more events in parallel more of the time? Can you replace the event with an after event where people contact is social and online contact is business, different needs for different media?
Well, I think we should thank David for learning how to turn the internet on. That's very good of him. But yes, of course, we could do an event every day, but it goes back to that point of why. It's not relevant. Well, certainly not in the industries that we work in. It's not relevant. And can business? So what was the question? Can the networking replace?
Can you run many events in parallel, and can you replace events with an after event where people contact is social and online contact is business, different needs for different media is what he's saying.
Yeah, you can. Look, I think it used to be that people would go to conferences to meet people, but the program was that was what sold the event, right? And you look at the program and say, oh, I see all the right companies are there and the right people are there. I'm going to go. I'll pay $1,500 but I hope to meet lots of people at the same time. I think, can you have just networking events only? Yes. I mean, it's kind of a digital pub, right? And one of the things that we did when we made an announcement last week that we were going 100% digital, and we're very well known for our pool parties at the Ritz-Carlton. And we said we'll be back because, again, you can't. Yes, you can. There's all sorts of wonderful software that can recreate avatars and virtual pools and virtual worlds and bars and stuff like that. But you want to be there. But
nothing can replicate being in that pool.
No, and again, but for my generation, our generation, I'd argue absolutely nothing can replicate it. But ask a teenager now, I think it's a different. That change is coming. They may have different opinions and views to large gatherings and meeting people and stuff like that. I hope not. Dave Grohl wrote a fantastic piece in the Atlantic recently about the fact that live entertainment has to come back, and it's true. Nothing will replicate that feeling of being in a packed music venue with all your mates, with your favorite band, just going crazy. And and I hope he's right. I absolutely hope he's right. It's just maybe not for the next few months.
Right. Okay, I found that. Let me share the link of that article. And basically, what he's saying is that you cannot replace that thrill. You cannot replace that sense of being there in a live event with people.
It's being there, right? So think about one of your greatest live music experiences. It's not just about being in the venue. It's about getting there. It's about being with your mates. It's about It's how did you get home? Who did you go home with? Who did you see? And it's just, again, that's the digital opportunity is extremely exciting. Look at how musicians are really embracing digital and creating whole new entertainment landscapes and stuff. And it's connecting more and more people, and it's connecting more bands with more and more people. But to me, does that replicate what you're showing on your screen there? No, of course it doesn't. It'll never replicate. You can't have your best mate on your shoulders in a socially distant setting in your living room watching YouTube, right? Or, well, maybe you can, but you might have a few questions. So I hope that, come the day, we will have a very, very cool mix of that live space with the digital space. And someone far more intelligent than me last week, I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning it, we were talking to Rory Sutherland last week from Ogilvy and Nudgestock, and he said he can't imagine a time where in the very near future, when we're allowed back in events again, that there won't be a digital component, because all of a sudden everyone's realized, they've woken up and thought, wow, I can connect with so many more people. Look at the Fortnite shows that are going on. 12 million people tuning in, whatever the word is that the kids of today do. But they're 12 million people watching a DJ set, and it really is very, very exciting.
So imagine tomorrow, COVID's over, it's evaporated, it's done faster than SARS, disappeared. How would you do a live event differently now with all that we've learned out of this COVID experience? Would you change digitally some of the things that you'd be doing with the live events?
Yeah, I think certainly more. So just as a reminder, we were already doing a lot of live streamed festivals, music events.
You called together the YouTube Fan Fest, which was basically some of the most famous YouTube influencers pulling them into fairly large scale events.
Yeah, it's I have to get this the right way around. Offline to online to online to offline to online. There we go. O2O. So the artist starts online. You put them into a live setting, and then you stream that live, and then you put the recorded content back up online again. So online, offline, online. And we've been doing that with multiple partners for nearly a decade. And continue to do so with things like It's a Girl Thing and Music Matters and stuff like that. But where it wasn't happening was in the business space, because again, it wasn't in the habit to tune into a conference because you wanted to meet people. Now, if you're in a situation where you can't be there, then the digital opportunity replaces it. But now, next is this. If we have a hybrid setting where, what if we were to have a stage A and a stage B in different countries?
Now
it used to be you'd have it in different rooms. But now, if people are genuinely nervous about traveling, or if it's tough to travel, or if it's expensive to travel, and let's hope not, because I really, really, really miss Cathay Pacific. I hope Edward's watching. But if it is expensive or uncomfortable or tricky, or you just physically can't, then you have to be able to provide this alternative.
Right. So the change will. The digital is not going to replace it in any level. It's just going to have to be an enhancement of what we're already doing.
It enhances and amplifies, and hey, here we are. When did YouTube launch? 2006. Here we are in 2020, 14 years later, saying this digital thing. I think it might catch on. But actually, it was the same year that Music Matters first launched as well, and both YouTube and Music Matters have shared the same meteoric rise. Tom, it's nearly 5:30. Can I?
I think it's time for the beer. This is the traditional Friday beer.
I every Friday now. Firstly, it's a what the F moment, because Friday was yesterday, and it's like, how the hell? And I just started saying cheers to all my friends, because we're all locked down and we can't go out, or well, most of us. And from my window over there, I would raise a very cheap beer. Tiger, by the way, if they want to sponsor me, they can. But I would raise a beer every Friday, and I will say to all my friends in the whole wide world, the internet, cheers, and have a brilliant weekend from me.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Jasper. Fantastic to catch up.
Can we talk about Music Matters, please?
Well, let's talk about Music Matters. What about Music Matters? We got Natalie, who's a different take on the cheers here. She's put champagne glasses up. Very classy.
Thank you, Natalie. That's a socially distanced cheers from the other side of Singapore. We're a little bit proud this week about an achievement. We launched something on Wednesday called Music Matters Live from Home. Actually, it's the second series in the run, with all these wonderful musicians around Asia and the world unable to perform, to go out to perform in live venues and stuff. We've been running our Music Matters Festival for 15 years, which really ages me. And the team got together to create a wonderful thing called Music Matters Live from Home, which was literally just working with previous Music Matters performers and giving them a platform to perform from home, literally on their mobile phones, on Instagram originally. They do a little 20-minute show and some Q&A and stuff like that. It was getting bigger and bigger, and I think we did 16 episodes, and it was really nice. And we went and spoke to the Singapore Tourism Board and said, how about doing this for some Singaporean artists and giving them profile and getting them some money and really helping out. And tourism board said, "This is great, but can you do it with? Could you have a Singapore artist performing with an overseas artist in Indonesia or Philippines or wherever?" Which, of course, with this wonderful World Wide Web of ours, is now possible. And so we took it to a very, very famous band in in Canada, called Simple Plan, who are, they've been around for quite a while. Phenomenal band. Check them out on Spotify. They've got hundreds of millions of streams, a very big global band, big in Asia, big in North America. And they said, well, we'd love to participate, but can we do it with more than one band? Can we do it with all of the bands that are participating? So on Wednesday night, to kind of very short story, because I think it only took 2 or 3 weeks from the original idea. We turned a very simple plan into a very big idea, and we had 9 artists performing and talking. We had across, I think it was 5 time zones, 5 countries, 10 crew, all of them working from their bedrooms. And we went live on Wednesday night. So, incredible thanks to the tourism board, incredible thanks to Simple Plan and all of the artists. And it would be lovely to be able to show a couple of minutes of what they did.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that right now. Let me just get the stream going. Here we go.
And then I got sent the song again, and I was like, oh, I know this song. Okay, because it takes us back to, we grew up in Papua New Guinea. And so it really took us back to kind of growing up in the sort of paradise, the beaches there. And yeah, I mean, nice. I'm keen to see this video. Let's roll to the.
Very cool. Yeah.
We should go check it out, huh?
Yeah, let's roll the video.
Can't wait to see your sunshine eyes. I'm missing you, my summer paradise. Hey. My heart is sinking as I'm lifting up above the clouds away from you. And I can't believe I'm leaving. Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But someday I will find my way back to where your name is written in the sand. 'Cause I remember every sunset, I remember every word you said. We were never gonna say goodbye. Sing la-da-da-da-da, tell me how to get back to summer paradise with you. And I'll be there in a heartbeat, right away. Oh, I'll be there in a heartbeat, on my way. Oh. My soul is broken, streets are frozen. I can't stop these feelings melting through. And I've given away.
So quite remarkable. You have how many nationalities here represented, Jasper?
There were 9. I think it's 6 or 7. 6 or 7. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty challenging. I have to say. This video was obviously pre-recorded. It's still with the wonders of the internet. You still cannot have 2 people, or it's very hard to have 2 people performing at the same time live, because you've got delays and technical issues and stuff.
Right. But it really came off really well. Congratulations. That looks like a really fun project and an incredible use of digital. The opportunities that arise when you have the acceptance of digital. We have a question about production. Can you talk a little bit about production challenges while everyone is socially distancing? There's quite a few of them, yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, as you know now, when you're sitting in a living room or a bedroom, and you're interviewing people live on air. I've hosted a few sessions already where all of a sudden you realize that crew that's normally around you with the backstage, with with teleprompters.
Where's my cappuccino?
Yeah. And all of that has gone away. So all of a sudden you've got a show director who's in one ear, you've got your crew who's on an iPad, you've got you're trying to focus on the content itself, which is going on here. You're trying to remember to look at the camera, not at the person in the screen. And then all of a sudden someone's internet goes down, and it's really challenging. It's really exciting. We had an example in one of our sessions where someone's internet got very patchy, and it turned out that their partner was using the internet for gaming in their house, and it was so when you're challenged, when you're producing something now, it's really about the rehearsals and tech rehearsals and checking, but you cannot control that last mile. That last mile is I think we had something cut out halfway through this. You just can't, unless if our tech director John Wigglesworth is watching this, he's heard me say this 1,000 times. He's only happy if there's a satellite truck in the car park. That's the only guarantee you have. So there's tons of issues and delays and people talking at the same time and apologizing and then stopping and then all that usual shit. So and people swearing live and stuff. So there are some very significant challenges that tech can only go so far to assist.
Right. But that's the magic of putting on a show, no?
Absolutely, it's the smell of the grease paint, the roar of the crowds. the other thing I found is you can't tell jokes while you're hosting a show because there's literally no one ever used to laugh at my jokes anyway. But when there's no one actually there not laughing, it's really quite uncanny. And as I put, I think last night the most liked Facebook post I've ever had in my life was that we did a piece with CNN last night talking about Music Matters, and I just started chuckling that I was on CNN and I wasn't wearing shoes or socks.
Today
and I'm with Tom Crampton now, and I'm not wearing shoes or socks. So this is the other more delights of the internet is we don't have to dress up. I am wearing a collar for you, Tom.
Nice. That's very good job. Excellent. Okay, well, thank you so much, Jasper, for that. That's really inspirational transition for Music Matters, and look forward to seeing the next innovations coming out of it. And when is your next big event? What is the next thing coming up that we can?
Oh, we've got lots in the pipeline. We're just finalising all the schedules at the moment, but we will be back up online in June at the end of this month with part of the All That Matters online conference. Oh no, sorry. What's next? Music Matters Live next Wednesday, 10 p.m. Singapore, Hong Kong, live on Music Matters YouTube and Facebook pages with a wonderful artist called Inch from Singapore. She's got the most beautiful voice, and an incredible artist from the Philippines called Quest, who was also in that video on Wednesday night. So yeah, that's our next show is on Wednesday.
Excellent. So look forward to Music Matters next Wednesday, and All That Matters at the end of the month. Thank you so much, Jasper.
Thank you, Tom. Great to see you. Cheers to everyone in the whole wide world.